You're watching WITI Milwaukee. When it matters to you, it matters to us. Fox 6 News, because you matter. Fox 6 News at 9 starts right now.
Our big story at 9. It's been a great couple days, all melty and happy out there. Tonight the party's over.
It is. The spoiler is about to show up. And what happens over the next several hours could make or break our morning commute. Vince Condella is here, starting things off.
Thanks very much, Ann and Brad. And you're right, the precipitation is still more than 6 hours away, but it all depends on how low our temperatures go tonight, how low the surface temperature of the roadway gets. That'll determine how slippery it gets for tomorrow morning. We've already dropped down to 33 degrees here. So as rain moves in and falls on surfaces that are below freezing towards dawn, that could slick things up quite a bit. Because of that, the National Weather Service has all of us under a winter weather advisory for tomorrow for most of the Fox 6 viewing area from 3 a.m. to noon. However, for Fond du Lac and Sheboygan, the advisory goes into effect at 4 a.m. and remains until 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon as that precipitation moves from south to north across the area. Western Wisconsin and northwestern part of the state, what a mess. Winter storm warning there, over 8 inches of snow possible in the northwest part of the state, and a blizzard warning out in Minnesota as well as parts of Iowa. So the snow, sleet, freezing rain, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Most areas then change over to all rain for the remainder of Thursday. Most areas do. And then high winds will be the story tomorrow night, with gusts to 50 miles per hour possible as this storm cranks up and moves out of Wisconsin. And we've got a little of everything. More in your 6-day forecast later as well.
That's what it seems like. Thank you, Vince. Stay ahead of the weather. Download the Fox 6 News app. It's free. It's available for Apple and Android devices. Now this, did Scott Walker know that crimes were being committed while he was Milwaukee County Executive? There are thousands of new clues tonight.
There are indeed. We have the emails from Kelly Reinfleisch, one of Walker's aides, who was convicted of felony misconduct. And our Mike Lowe has been poring over the thousands of pages.
The Milwaukee County Courthouse was the epicenter of the 3-year John Doe investigation. In the emails released today, Kelly Reinfleisch is asked what she does specifically for Scott Walker. She says, quote, all policy. But these emails make clear her real job was almost all politics. Inside of the Milwaukee County Courthouse, Kelly Reinfleisch worked in an office just 27 feet from Scott Walker's. This was when Walker was the Milwaukee County Executive, before he was elected governor. She was Walker's deputy chief of staff, but she was also using her public position to advance Walker's political career.
4 counts of misconduct in office.
During a 3-year criminal investigation, Reinfleisch was found to have been doing campaign work on taxpayer time. She was convicted of felony misconduct and sentenced to 6 months in jail. One of 6 Walker aides or associates convicted in the first John Doe probe.
Emails are on a CD.
Wednesday, at the court clerk's office in Madison, reporters from around the state received 27,000 pages of emails and other documents. The emails shed new light on the investigation itself. For example, Reinfleisch's home was searched on the day before the 2010 election as the investigation expanded. And in a court transcript, one investigator said he believed Walker would appear to be aware of the secret internet system his county employees used for campaign purposes. And in a later email from Walker associate Cindy Archer to Reinfleisch, it appears Walker, who is referred to as SKW, knew of the illegal campaign communications. Archer wrote, I use this private account quite a bit to communicate with SKW. Wednesday, Walker made one public appearance.
I don't know that there'll be any great surprises beyond what they've already talked about.
Where he spoke with Fox 6 an hour before the emails were released. What was the nature of any exchanges that you might have had with Kelly Reinfleisch?
Again, that's several years ago. I'd have to go back and look. That's not something I've looked at in the last several years. I mean, I think the bottom line is these are email communications from someone who worked at the county, in some cases probably 4 to 5 years ago. I haven't looked at them, so I'm the list I know for the last 3+ years I've been governor, and so most of those would be 4 or more years old. And they've gone through a legal process.
The first John Doe investigation was closed in March of 2013. Walker was not charged.
We've already seen one indictment and sentence come out of those emails.
Marquette University political science professor John McAdams predicts minimal political damage for the governor.
I think the bad news for Walker and the Walker campaign in those emails is now old news.
Walker says his team will go through these emails, as undoubtedly will his political opponents, mining the thousands of pages for political purposes in the days to come. Reporting outside the county courthouse in Milwaukee, Mike Lowe, Fox 6 News.
Now, the documents unsealed today do show that Scott Walker routinely used his own private email account to communicate with his staff and their private accounts.
But does that mean that he knew his staff were doing campaign work on county time? Fox 6 investigator Brian Polsey shows you what he found.
As county executive Scott Walker was running for governor in 2010, he routinely communicated with his staff through private email. A search of the documents generates thousands of hits for the personal emails of Walker and his staff members. His executive assistant's Yahoo account comes up more than 1,000 times. His chief of staff's Roadrunner account nearly 2,000 times. His director of communications Yahoo email more than 6,600 times. And Walker's own campaign email address, skw@scottwalker.org, produces more than 9,000 hits. But Marquette law professor Charles Franklin says that still leaves room for ambiguity.
What was the content of those emails? How was he involved in it?
Walker has always maintained that he was not aware his staff was campaigning during work hours.
We have an overall policy that people weren't to use county resources or county time to be involved in political activities.
But the transcript of a John Doe hearing released on Wednesday shows prosecutors believe Walker was aware that staffers were using laptops over wireless networks that were separate from the county's computer network. They point to an email Walker sent after one of his aides was caught posting campaign material online during the day. "We cannot afford another story like this one," he wrote. "That means no laptops." 2 hours later, his deputy chief of staff wrote to another staffer, "Already broken down and put away. Laptop is packed." But if Walker knew his staff was breaking the law, Franklin asks, why didn't prosecutors charge him?
Clearly, the prosecutors had access to all of these emails, and the prosecution decided they're not to make a case against Scott Walker.
In the end, he says, partisans will disagree. The question is, will these emails have any impact on voters?
Or does it lead them to shrug their shoulders and say, well, I already knew that, or that's business as usual? I think that remains very much up in the air at this point.
Walker's campaign issued a statement today saying that these emails have been thoroughly vetted by the authorities and pointing out that the John Doe investigation has been closed for more than a year. In the newsroom, Brian Polson, Fox 6 Investigators.
And coming up later in the show, more controversy coming out in those emails, specifically about the death at the O'Donnell Park parking garage. That is still to come.
A second Wisconsin National Guard member has been suspended in connection with that controversial photo that was posted online. In that picture, soldiers are posing around a flag-draped casket, making fun of the situation. It was posted on Specialist Terry Harrison's Instagram account. She's from Milwaukee. She is suspended indefinitely from funeral honors detail during the investigation. And today, a second Guard member, Sergeant Luis Jimenez, was also reassigned. The National Guard says he made comments on social media supporting Harrison. He is not in this actual photo. The woman accused of kidnapping her half-sister's baby now indicted on federal charges. That's according to the Associated Press. They say Kristen Smith was charged in federal court today with kidnapping. That carries a max life in prison. Smith is accused of taking that baby from a town of Beloit home where her half-sister Brianna Marshall was staying. Marshall woke up in the middle of the night to find her newborn was gone. The baby was found the next day at a gas station in Iowa.
The city of Milwaukee is getting sued again over taxi cabs. First, drivers sued. They wanted more permits. They won. Tonight, though, the owners are suing. Ben Hendelman is live tonight downtown with their interesting demand.
And good evening. The issue at hand, are there enough taxis here in Milwaukee? Next month, the city of Milwaukee is set to issue out 100 new taxi permits. A new lawsuit may stop that.
I really started driving in 1963.
For more than 50 years, Benny Lewis has been behind the wheel of a Milwaukee cab. This cab has raised the whole family, huh?
Well, not this. I done went through about 10 cars.
Lewis is the owner of one of Milwaukee's 320 cab licenses, a prized piece of paper he is finally ready to sell.
That's what I want to use for retirement.
Cab licenses sell for between $100,000 and $150,000 of value now at risk. The city of Milwaukee is raising the taxi cap by 100 licenses. Lewis fears the move will kill his business and his longtime retirement plan.
I think it would be worthless.
It doesn't make any sense.
Red Christensen of the Wisconsin Association of Taxi Cab Owners says raising the license cap is irresponsible. His group is now taking action. A 14-page federal lawsuit filed Wednesday is demanding the move be halted. 25 of the city's cab owners, who own 2/3 of the licenses, say raising the cap is unconstitutional because it devalues their business. The group's lawsuit is not asking for monetary damages.
All we're asking for is the city of Milwaukee to allow us to do a study with an independent consultant.
The taxi cab owners say they'll even pay for it.
They're just trying to find loopholes.
Ishmael Heron, who represents drivers, says there have already been files of research presented, and a court has ruled the city should lift the cap altogether. Drivers who do not own licenses say they simply want the opportunity those like Lewis have had. And the city clerk tells me there have been 500 applications for those new 100 licenses. Now, drivers who do not own their own license tell me that shows you just how much demand there is. However, cab owners tell me that a lot of the applications are from out-of-state cabbies who work in cities that don't have a cap and there's not enough business. The one thing that is for certain, this is going back into a courtroom. We're live downtown tonight. Ben Handelman, Fox 6 News.
And thank you so much. And those Milwaukee taxi drivers have new competition in town as well. But for how long? That's the question. The Public Works Committee passed a motion to investigate the car-sharing company Uber. It just started operating in the city last week. It's a cell phone app. You tap a button, a car picks you up. And you don't need cash since the app stores your credit card and sends you a receipt. But some city officials have questioned whether Uber has the proper license. That's, I'm sure, one of the things they're going to investigate.
Yeah, we'll be hearing more about that, no doubt about it.
Yes, we will.
The MO at UWM.
Close calls with the door-to-door dorm crooks.
And someone came into our suite and knocked on this door.
How the robbers were getting in, what they were after, and the clue that helped police catch them, something that had been missing for 5 years.
Grading restaurants, the new rules that will change what you see when you eat out.
And speaking of food, the most influential candy in history. Take a guess, see if you're right. We'll have those stories in the next 9 minutes.
Hey.
Nice music. So if I refer to that door, that'll work?
I got you centered up with this brick, so you can point to either one.
Cool, I'll point to that door. Cool. Sure, mic check. What the city is exploring is whether to post inspection grades right here on a restaurant's entrance. Some in the city, level is low. Some customers already like the idea, but restaurant owners aren't so sure. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Take one step forward.
Forward.
Perfect.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. What the city is exploring is whether to post inspection grades right here on a restaurant's entrance. Okay, he's working on it. A lot of customers seem to like the idea, but the restaurant owners aren't so sure. Do you hear what you said about the levels being low?
Too low?
Yeah, levels are too low. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Fox 6 News at 9 continues with Brad Hicks, Ann State, Chief Meteorologist Vince Condella, and Tom Pippin Sports. Fox 6 News, because you matter.
We got our hands on some new documents that detail a long list of the stuff stolen from some UWM dorms over the weekend.
It turns out there were a lot more than electronics stolen. Fox 6's Brett Bagansky with more on the investigation and who led police to the suspects.
Total strangers. He just went in and my suite mate's what are you doing here? Odd behavior.
Smelled fishy to me.
A name drop.
No, Sam doesn't live here.
Or two.
And someone came into our suite and knocked on this door, asking for Michael.
It was enough to leave many UW Milwaukee students uneasy this past weekend.
My other suite mate, who actually had stuff stolen from him, he was furious. He was going around did you take my headphones? And
Skylar Aspie's friend had a pair stolen out of his dorm room when he wasn't there. Turns out his roommate wasn't the only one, as more than 40 items were taken from both Sandberg Hall and Cambridge Commons over the weekend. A search warrant obtained by Fox 6 reveals one of the suspects' roommates walked into their dorm room and found a loaded 9mm not belonging to him on his bed. He also found many items in plain view, including numerous video game consoles, marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and large quantities of U.S. currency.
I got my laptop, I got 2 guitars, I have a skateboard, I got my phone, I got calculator and all that stuff. So, I mean, if I was, 20 minutes later, I would have been asleep and they could have made off with a bunch of stuff.
Jeff Marshall said the suspects in question tried coming into his dorm room early Sunday morning as he was falling asleep.
And the only reason that they didn't walk in is because I was awake and because my girlfriend was there.
Nonetheless, these crimes are a wake-up call for many.
As I was leaving today, they had a note that was lock the door. We don't want anyone coming and stealing our stuff.
Brett Bagansky, Fox 6 News.
We are not naming any of the suspects at this time since none of them have been charged, but the search warrant also says the gun that was found in the dorm room was reported stolen back in 2009. And we have this tonight. Greenfield police searching for 3 armed robbery suspects. This happened last night at a Verizon store. Police say one of the suspects insulted a store employee. Then the men took money. They took merchandise for the store, although at this point police are still trying to find out exactly what was taken. The worker who was assaulted was injured but did not go to the hospital. And investigators are trying to figure out what led to a house fire in Elm Grove last night. We're told that the owners came home to find smoke detectors going off and flames in a laundry room. The family was not hurt, but a police officer was treated for smoke inhalation.
Well, not exactly pedal tavern weather, but we got some pedal tavern news for you. The whole issue of these pedal taverns headed back now to the full Common Council for a vote. See, under state law, people can bring and drink canned beer on a pedal tavern, but individual municipalities can choose to prohibit it or regulate it. Now, earlier this year, the Public Works Committee passed an ordinance that would allow people to drink on the pedal taverns, but the full council sent it back for more discussion. They wanted some things fine-tuned, so today the committee came back with a new plan.
It would enable us to require a plan of operation not only for the geographic location in which the operators would be operating, but also in addition to that would enable us to, under their plan of operation, get additional stipulations.
Those stipulations could include hours of operation, and if the operator deviates from the original plan, they could be suspended or get their license revoked. The amended proposal now heads to the full Common Council. They should be voting on that next month, which is in time for spring. All right, well, speaking of night on the town, if you'd like to know how your favorite restaurant fares and if it passed inspection, the answer be staring you right in the face at the front door.
Milwaukee officials are exploring that new idea. Fox 6's Jenna Sachs is live on Downer Avenue with this story tonight.
Yes, what the city is exploring is whether to post inspection rates right here on a business's front entrance. A lot of people seem to like the idea already, but some restaurant owners aren't sure about it.
I do believe that the public has the right to know if a restaurant is dirty, for sure.
Omar Sheck is president of the Surge Group, which includes downtown's Umami Moto. So far, he's on the fence about whether posting a restaurant's grade for cleanliness is a good idea.
And anyone in any household or any restaurant can have an off day. And I think that's why, I need to learn more about the criteria. If this is something that's taken over time and then, they set the grade based upon so many visits. If it's based upon one visit, well, it may not be fair to the individual restaurant.
Milwaukee's Common Council president is working on an ordinance that would make Milwaukee more like New York and several other big cities where grades based on inspections are posted on a restaurant's front door.
So I think that would be a fairly nice idea.
Some who live in the city already support the idea and say they'd hesitate before going into a restaurant without a top grade.
I would have to think about it.
If it has a good grading or a bad grading, you may want to know.
But some question whether posted grades for hygiene are necessary.
You kind of hear about it word of mouth or online blogging and Yelp.
The Wisconsin Restaurant Association has already met with the health department to discuss a rating system. The Restaurant Association is against any plan that bases a restaurant's grade on a single inspection.
It's a snapshot. It's a one-day thing. To get that letter grade removed requires a reinspection. How long is that going to take? Those are the kinds of things that bother us.
Details of how restaurants would be graded are still being worked out. We don't know if it would be based on a single inspection or on several inspections. They're also considering more than just a letter grade system like ABC. They're considering a numbering system or maybe a color system. The city says they would ask customers and restaurant owners for input. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Jenna Sachs, Fox 6 News.
Sounds like you got plenty of input already. Thank you, Jenna, so much. Now, an odd story, but sweet results.
Yeah, the question, and don't take the graphic here, so let people think about it for a second.
Okay.
The question was, what was the most influential candy bar of all time? Ponder, ponder, ponder. All right. Boom. Time magazine interviewing candy experts and historians. The question, which candy bar had the biggest impact on the chocolate bar industry in the whole wide world? According to Time, the Kit Kat was the first candy to be marketed around the concept of sharing. Remember? Give me a break for that Kit Kat bar. Yeah, yeah. And also one of the first candy bars to earn a global following. I would have thought it was the Hershey bar. That came in second.
I'm kind of surprised as well.
Yeah.
Share.
There you go.
Sharing is caring. Winter can wreck your car.
Can. One Fox 6 reporter found that out firsthand.
Take a look at this. Something is clearly wrong here, and this damage was done by a pothole.
Crystal Kastner spending the day with mechanics. The one thing you should never do when you come up on a pothole.
Plus, a new destination for flyers at Mitchell International Airport, where this plane is going, and why it could be full of brainiacs. For the Olympics, it was toothpaste, now it's shoes. The U.S. government is warning airlines, pay attention to shoes. They say terrorists may try to hide explosives in them. However, officials are stressing that there is no specific plot.
In business news, Frontier Airlines adding a flight at Mitchell International Airport. The flight is to Trenton Mercer Airport in Ewing, New Jersey. I know. The flights start June 13th. Frontier has 7 daily flights out of Milwaukee. By the way, the upside here, Trenton Mercer is actually close to Princeton University, if that's where you're going. Marquette eliminating 25 staff positions. According to the university, it's an effort to achieve, quote, cost reductions and needed operational efficiencies. The employees impacted are staff. No members of the faculty will be affected. A new option for groceries coming your way. Fresh Time Farmers Market is going to open stores in Brookfield and Milwaukee in 2015. According to the Business Journal, the Milwaukee location will be near Pleasant and Water Street downtown. The Phoenix-based grocery chain plans to open 60 new stores across the Midwest over the next 5 years. That'll create about 5,000 new jobs. Fresh Time emphasizes locally sourced produce selections. All right, for more on that and other stories in the Business Journal, see the link on fox6now.com.
A Contact 6 alert tonight, the news scan that plays on your emotions and the email you should never open. Plus, a teenage boy killed on his way to Summerfest. How did Scott Walker's staff deal with this horrifying event? We've got revealing new documents and still ahead as well. NASCAR starts out big. Find out why that's both good and bad when Tim Van Voren goes beyond the game.
Fox 6 News at 9 continues with Brad Hicks, Ann State, Chief Meteorologist Vince Condella, and Tom Pippin Sports. Fox 6 News, because you matter.
A 13-ton concrete slab falls off a Milwaukee County building and kills a teenager on his way to Summerfest.
How did Scott Walker's staff deal with this horrific event? Newly released emails give a little bit of insight. Here's Myra Sanchik.
The tragedy in June 2010 is undoubtedly one of the most crisis-ridden events Scott Walker and his staff dealt with when Walker was Milwaukee County executive. Now that thousands of emails from Walker's staff have been released, we see how they reacted shortly after the tragedy. 15-year-old Jared Kellner was killed and 2 others injured as they walked to Summerfest. A concrete slab from the O'Donnell parking structure fell onto them. In this email from Walker aide Tim Russell, quote, "Where is SKW, Scott Walker? This is going to be a problem, whether we did or did not do anything or not. Barrett has already been there. Scott cannot be at a fundraiser or something like that. He'll be eaten alive." The email from Russell to other staffers continues, quote, "Perhaps grasping at straws, but there is a vacant parking space at the north end of the area where the slab was hung. Could a car have jarred it?" End quote. A spokesperson from the Friends of Scott Walker campaign replies, quote, "Scott is down at the scene and should be attached at the hip with Sheriff Clark. He needs to lead and be on top of the entire situation. Scott needs to be front and center for the media." End quote. As live television coverage of the tragedy continues, this email from Tim Russell to other staffers, quote, "Harold Mester, the county board PR flack, was just on Channel 6 expressing the chairman's concern and talking about the backlog of maintenance and politicizing this. I strongly think SKW needs to shoot back at him with both barrels for politicizing this." End quote. Another email from the Friends of Scott Walker campaign to Kelly Rindfleisch, Walker's top aide at the time. The political concern about blame for the tragedy is clear. Quote, "Make sure there is not a paper anywhere that details a problem at all." End quote. The next day, Rindfleisch responds to a friend who says, "What happened yesterday besides the parking lot falling on some kid?" Rindfleisch responds, quote, "That was our structure. The headlines are going to be Scott Walker kills 15-year-old." End quote. Myra Sanchik, Fox 6 News.
Also, after the tragedy, these emails show that staffers could not get a hold of Scott Walker. His cell phone had apparently burned out. They actually had to go through another staffer who was apparently traveling with him. And for a closer look at those emails just released, just head to our website, fox6now.com. A Contact 6 alert tonight. State officials are warning of a new email scam. It uses fake funeral announcements to infect your computer. The email includes very limited information, just says something like an upcoming service is going to be held for a, quote, friend. If you get this email or something like it, delete it right away.
Well, many of you know NASCAR does things a little differently than other sports. Unlike the Super Bowl, the World Series, which are at the end of the season, NASCAR's biggest event is at the beginning. Tim Van Moren goes beyond the game to explain why that's both good and bad.
This year's Sprint Cup season will blend the new with the old right out of the box. The pole sitter for the first race of the year is Austin Dillon. The rookie was last year's Nationwide Series champ and the Truck Series champ the year before that. Besides Dillon's intriguing enough personal storyline, he's driving the number 3 car this year. That number hasn't been used on NASCAR's top circuit since Dale Earnhardt Sr. crashed and died at Daytona in 2001. Earnhardt's car owner that day was Richard Childress, who is Dillon's car owner now and who is also Dillon's grandfather.
I think it's important to respect the family. For us, as a family, we know what it means to people to have that family background and history. So we just want to add to the legacy of what the numbers already has.
Richard's really a great guy. I got a lot of respect for him, and hopefully I think he does in turn for me. And he was looking for support, and I was glad to support him, and glad to support Austin, and looking forward to seeing them have some fun and be out on the track. And it's a hell of a storyline for them to have that moment and be able to bring the 3 back. I think it's the time, to do that. It's going to come back sooner or later, and this, no time better now.
I think it's very fitting that Austin's in the 3. I know there's been some pushback, but if the 3's going to come back, the grandson of Richard in the car is the best situation possible. No, he's not Dale. I don't think he's trying to be Dale. But that 3 has a lot of history in our sport, and I think in time people will find a way to honor the fact that the 3's back on the track.
Earnhardt Sr. won 6 series championships and was known as the Intimidator. He was geared to win races, not protect positions in the season point standings. Thanks to sweeping changes in the qualifying and chase for the championship formats, NASCAR is trying to return to those roots while understanding today's corporate influence on the sport. Sponsors need their exposure all year long, but fans want to see actual racing too.
We kind of need to be careful what we wish for, but I think this is only going to build excitement. I don't see much downside in it.
It's a little bit of trial and error, and so this is a huge change. It's a huge change. You've almost changed the format of your sport.
The biggest race of the Sprint Cup season is also the first race of the season, the Daytona 500. NASCAR's hope is that by giving drivers a chance to reinsert themselves into contention with a victory, casual fan interest can be maintained right up until the finale at Homestead, Florida in November. NASCAR hopes its changes will allow it to stay relevant even after college and pro football get into the meat of their schedules.
Probably like everybody had to think about it a little bit and absorb it a little bit and kind of see what all that is about. But, I think I think the chase itself is going to be really exciting. I think there's going to be more drama, more strategy, that type of thing, to see who advances from round to round. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
With another season at the starting line, NASCAR feels its past and its present have the series perfectly positioned for success in its future. Tim Van Voren, Fox 6 Sports.
And the NASCAR season starts Sunday. You can see the Daytona 500 right here on Fox 6. Well, they're everywhere. Seems like you can't avoid them.
All those potholes, they can sure put a dent in your wallet. The one thing that drivers are doing that's actually making it worse.
It only weighs about 3 pounds, but it is on a heavy-duty mission. Why Marquette University is teaming up with NASA.
2 days in a row with highs in the 40s, and some of us will get this there again tomorrow, but after that, it's downhill on our 6-day outlook.
From the classroom to outer space, Marquette students are actually building a satellite.
Yeah, these students have been working on this thing for about 3 years. They showed our AJ Bayatpour what they're up to.
The structure.
It's a do-it-yourself project
you won't find anywhere else in Wisconsin.
If we wanted to build a satellite just whenever, if we just wanted to get it done, we could have bought one. But what would we have learned from that? And that's the real cause for the project.
This experience is far from easy for about 25 Marquette students who are building a small satellite, or CubeSat. Over the last 3 years, around 65 MU students have had a hand in the project.
We want to keep this thing going, absolutely. I mean, I think that'd be really cool just to, in general, just come back, you know, for a 10-year reunion. I see this thing still, I see this lab even twice as big, you know.
But first, the students want to launch their CubeSat into space. NASA recently chose Marquette as one of 16 organizations to launch one of these 3-pound satellites. The students say the design is about 98% complete and some of its parts have already been built.
Going forward, we're going to need to assemble all of the components together and test them all individually and then test them as a whole before we launch.
Once in space, the Golden Eagle 1 will take pictures and thermal images of Earth. The students will track the solar-powered satellite from the College of Engineering. Right now, they practice by following a couple of existing CubeSats. Soon, they hope to be monitoring their own.
We are confident in our abilities, and we want other people to see how good we can be.
AJ Bayatpour, Fox 6 News.
And the students are aiming to launch the CubeSat next spring. Should be good stuff.
That's big.
Hey, get ready for a smorgasbord.
A little bit of everything in the weather tomorrow. Vince Candela is coming up with the forecast, and more than $1,000 in damage, all from potholes. The story you can't afford to miss.
And the ship was made famous by Tom Hanks in the movie Captain Phillips. Now, there is some more real-life drama on the high seas. Could it include murder?
Wake up with us tomorrow. Rain, sleet, freezing rain, snow, all during the morning commute.
Plus, we'll take you inside the new Body Worlds exhibit on display in Milwaukee.
And if your kids love pizza and burgers, we have the recipe for you.
That's tomorrow on Wake Up, because you matter.
Tonight at 10, so who's next? What kind of superintendent will the Milwaukee School Board be looking to hire? And can they woo him or her to come here? The perks the outgoing super was getting. Also tonight, it's not just a very old Bible, it is a family's history dating back generations. It got away, but found its way back to where it belongs. How did that happen? It's proof that sometimes you just gotta have faith. Tonight at 10.
The government and opposition in Ukraine announcing a truce in the escalating violence there. That's so they can restart negotiations. Today was the second day of some deadly protests there. More than 24 people killed, some of them police officers. Hundreds more have been hurt. The Ukrainian government leaders are expected to hold an emergency meeting tomorrow.
A flight from San Francisco to Hong Kong hit severe turbulence. 9 people were hurt and they were taken to the hospital as soon as the plane landed. One passenger says it felt like he was on a roller coaster. Other passengers were thrown out of their seats. They hit the overhead bin. It's pretty serious.
A couple Americans found dead on the Maersk, Alabama in the Seychelles. The container ship was made famous in the film Captain Phillips. That was a Tom Hanks film. The men were both 44 years old. They worked for an American security firm. A colleague says he found the bodies in the ship's cabin when he was checking up on them. An autopsy is underway to figure out exactly what happened.
And we're trying to figure out what's going to happen in weather. Some questions about the morning commute tomorrow.
A little of everything. And you know, so much of it on the morning, as far as how slippery it'll be, will depend on what the surface temperature is like. And, you know, we've got this extensive snow cover. Night has fallen now, so temperatures are cooling quickly. Will they be at or below freezing when the precipitation moves in? That's the key. Let's check in with our Smart Weather Net system. And again, a sampling around the area. And you can see that in these locations here, everybody's at freezing or below. We're at 32 here in Brown Deer. 31, a very common number. Grafton, Merton, as well as Dousman, up to Sheboygan and West Bend, down to Oak Creek. 29 in Whitewater. So this precipitation, once it starts falling, will fall on surfaces that are below freezing. That could ice things up a bit. And so watch for that for the morning commute tomorrow. Here is that precipitation on radar, and it's forming along this little gush of warm air now that's being pushed up, pushed northward. That creates lift and moisture. So as that area of moisture moves in, the temperature of the surface it falls on totally determines how slick things will be, and that's where you get a freezing rain setup. We certainly have a snow-covered surface, so a lot of the roadways, even though they were heated today by the sun, yesterday as well, they're cooling down quickly tonight, and they're surrounded by all of this extensive snow. Now here's that gush of mild air aloft, and it will produce precipitation, some of it in the form of liquid, so rain falling on those sub-freezing surfaces to create freezing rain tomorrow morning. Also, that gush of mild air aloft can also create rapid lift, something we call dynamic cooling, and that can actually cool the rain into snow. So the combination could potentially be snow falling along with some of the icing on the roadways from the freezing rain. So again, it's one of those kind of situations to keep an eye on. Check in with meteorologist Rob Haswell, Fox 6 Wake Up News, 4:30 to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Before you head out the door, Rob will fill you in on what's going on outside here in terms of surface reports. Winter weather advisory starts at 3 a.m., runs to noon for most of us, although Fond du Lac, Sheboygan counties 4 a.m. right through about 3 p.m. Let's check it out with our Sky Vision forecast. And first of all, let's widen the view out a bit because a messy weather situation is also setting up for western and northwestern Wisconsin, where a winter storm warning is in effect. That includes La Crosse up to Eau Claire, Black River Falls, Hayward over towards Rhinelander and Eagle River, then a blizzard warning over to southern Minnesota and northern and central Iowa. 8 inches or more of snow possible in west central and northern parts of Wisconsin, 4 to 8 beyond that and to the west back into Minnesota, Iowa, and 2 to 4 even up towards Green Bay. But then as you get to the north and west of Milwaukee, the snow amounts really taper off. Snow will not be our issue. Instead, it's going to be the potential for the slippery travel and icing tomorrow, and then some very strong winds coming in tomorrow night. Let's start at 10:30, and as we push towards about 3 a.m., here comes some of that moisture. There's 5 in the morning. The green is rain and freezing rain. Some of the pink here, that represents some of the sleet, and the blue is snow. So this is quite the multicolored map, as you can see. There's 6 a.m. Snow, some rain and freezing rain, and also some sleet is possible. There we are at 7 in the morning, and some of that snow burst could be pretty quick. So maybe an inch of accumulation perhaps in the morning hours. A lot of uncertainty there, but also some of that freezing rain. That area initially then quickly moves out, 8:30 or so. Then we get this big gap around late morning into the early afternoon. And by later in the afternoon, there's 3 o'clock, here comes some more rain. Maybe even a rumble of thunder tomorrow in the afternoon. Notice the pink area, though, up in the higher elevations of the northern Kettle Moraine to the north and west of Milwaukee. Colder temperatures there could produce a little icing situation, so watch for that. And then as we get into tomorrow night, the winds really pick up, and a high wind watch goes into effect tomorrow night for us. Gusts up to 50 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour tomorrow night as that storm system winds up and moves away. 28 tonight. The light snow, the freezing rain comes in after 3 a.m. And again, most of us with temperatures below freezing. Then for tomorrow, 42 for an eventual high. Snow, freezing rain and sleet, changing to rain and even a couple of thunder showers in the afternoon. So again, drive with caution. I want to leave you tonight with a spectacular photo. We've talked last week about the snowy owls and how there's over 200 of them sighted in Wisconsin this winter, and many across the eastern half of the United States migrating down from the Arctic this year. So it's a good year for spotting the snowies. And this great photo here, I love it, from Jane from Menominee Falls, who's a very gifted astronomer, photographer anyway, for birds and wildlife and so on. And she has this really nice photo of the snowy. So Jane, thanks very much for that. And I don't know, I think the snowy owls might feel right at home with this 6-day outlook, because we start sliding downhill again here after our 42 tomorrow, back down to 28 on Friday, very windy, then 24 on Saturday, 20 on Sunday. Yes, I'm detecting a trend, and it's not going the right way. 18 on Monday and 14 on Tuesday. Lots of uncertainty as far as how slick will be tomorrow. Rob Haswell has the answer for you on Wake Up, so check in with him.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Vince. Potholes are terrible right now. Sometimes you just can't avoid them. Crystal Kastner says if you see one, if you're about to hit it, there is one thing you should do.
$1,300. That's how much it's going to cost to repair this vehicle.
So I have to replace this lower control arm.
It's comparable to the damage you'd see from a collision at about 35 to 40 miles an hour. But that's not what happened here. This driver hit a pothole.
I've probably done more inner and outer tie rods probably within 5 years of my career here that I've in about 3 months.
And that's all because of potholes?
That's all because of potholes.
Between 5 Midas locations, they're seeing about 20 vehicles a day with pothole damage.
I can look at just the way the tires sit and see that the alignment's knocked off.
In some cases, you might need that expert eye. In others, well, you can just tell. Take a look at this. Something is clearly wrong here, and this damage was done by a pothole.
If you see a big hole, don't speed up and hit it fast, because that's going to do the most damage. You know, slow down.
Just like the sizes of potholes can vary, so can the damage they inflict.
It's been a lot of rims. We've had tires because the potholes have actually popped the sidewalls on the tires. So obviously that's, you know, you're not going to be able to steer your vehicle very well there. And then a lot of the control arms, struts, shocks, you know, just your entire suspension.
So how do you know something's wrong? Lehman says there could be an unusual noise. The vehicle could shake or vibrate, or it might be more difficult to brake. And according to Lehman, the longer you wait to fix it, the worse it could get.
If they didn't fix this control arm, it would wear the inside of their tires out.
And that could mean more damage and more money down the road. In Milwaukee, Crystal Kastner, Fox 6 News.
Lehman says you might not even know that your car has a problem, so the best thing to do is get an alignment, get a suspension check. Some places actually do them for free. With the snow piling up, a lot of people are wondering, where do you put it? Some commercial snow clearing contractors used to dump their snow underneath the home bridge, but there's construction there now, so the city says no, can't put it there. So now those who have paid are putting the snow in another lot near 27th and Hopkins.
Any private contractor that's doing any type of hauling of snow from private parking lots, grocery stores, department stores, you're hauling snow from those locations. You do have to have a permit first.
Ann Booker says those annual permits cost $145 per car.
A major pileup on a Pennsylvania interstate. Take a look at this mess. This happened this morning on Interstate 80. More than 40 vehicles, including tractor trailers, involved. Lanes in both directions closed. In fact, they're still closed. They're expected to reopen shortly. Several people were hurt. How seriously, we're not sure right now. They're still investigating that accident, but of course, slick roads likely to blame. A roof collapse killing cows in a barn in Massachusetts. Firefighters responding to the scene this morning in Framingham. Several animals trapped underneath that rubble. 2 of the cows died from the impact of the crash, but thankfully many more survived. The heavy snow there on the roof is what caused it. And a former Howard Johnson's hotel in Florida, no more goodbye. This is in Fort Lauderdale. It's gone, demolished today. The site will be cleared for a new luxury high-rise condo building. That should be done in 2016. And in New York City, officials closing the streets and sidewalks around One World Trade Center because of falling ice. Some of the chunks were several feet wide. Officials are asking all property owners to remove ice and snow from the rooftops, overhangs, and awnings.
Closer to home, our meltdown continues for yet another day. But that means we also had problems from above. Fox 6's Jonathan Gregg tells us what's falling.
Without a cloud in the sky, a walk through downtown.
It seems like there's quite a bit of activity going on today.
Can still make you nervous about looking up. A quick rise in temps can break loose the ice and send it falling.
Opportunities for that snow or ice to build up on those buildings. And, you know, like I said, when it gets warm like this, at any time that stuff could come down.
City Hall is a good example of where ice can build up, but construction awnings have made falling hazards a non-issue there. But as we know, winter's wrath doesn't only come from above.
It's not only our buildings, but in the streets.
And sidewalks. But Milwaukeeans, go ahead, nice and easy, aren't the kind of people to live in fear of the elements.
And you just want to slowly put weight
Case in point,
onto your dominant foot.
Natalie Planer.
Your non-dominant foot will be on the other pedal.
A prospective member of the Unicycle Club at the Milwaukee School of Engineering.
It happens.
Sit up straight. Getting lessons from club member and fellow sophomore Lucas Kennedy. Taking laps through salt, ice, melting snow, and passing by a sign that says danger.
Balancing on a unicycle on ice, I have lots of experience with this, is difficult, but it's doable.
So the training continues. Rain or shine or snow or ice or falling ice.
That was a bump.
Some people just know how to keep looking forward.
Looking down can throw you off balance, and looking up is kind of counterintuitive.
In Milwaukee, Jonathan Gregg, Fox 6 News.
Another problem, besides trying to ride that unicycle, fire stations have actually been getting more false alarm calls, supposedly caused by sprinkler systems that are thawing too quickly.